friends, I'm Tiffany. I'm a service designer and a small business owner. So today I'm going to talk about selling at craft markets and how to plan for it. So you have your products, congrats, and you're ready to do this. And like many things, it's going to take a lot of planning. So here are a few, or more than a few, things that you may want to consider. So before you actually go and do the craft market, it's always a good idea to just go to one beforehand and walk it as a customer. You want to get a feel for the type of booths that are there, the type of products that they're selling, the customer base that's going there, and you want to make sure that it's a good fit for your product. And just kind of get a feel for how things operate at that market, because a lot of times markets, their policies and how they operate is different. So that's going to help you give an overall idea of what to expect. Your products. So just in case you don't know, you're going to need physical products when you sell at these craft markets. I know some of you may be doing business online, perhaps like with a print-on-demand company. So you're gonna have to find a way to get these products physically so that you can bring them, obviously. You're gonna think about how much product you might need. Do you have enough? And do you have a good variety of options to show and to sell? With regard to booth setup, when you apply, and even before you apply, you wanna know what is included as a vendor. So like your booth size, if there's going to be furniture provided, if there's going to be electricity or Wi-Fi, if you might need, or even water. You want to know the specifics and all the instructions and direction, because every market is going to have a different set of rules and policies. So be sure you are familiar with all that. You want to consider your overall look of your booth. So the size is usually going to be like 6 feet by 2 feet, and that's not a lot of space. But just consider that to be like a big retail store, and how you would want people to see it from the outside or looking from the window or something like that. You may be surprised at how the appearance of your booth can sometimes, many times even, attract people to come to your booth and look at your products. So think about how you want the overall appearance to look. You want to plan out how you plan to display all your products. And this is going to be a little tricky because, like I said, usually it's like a 6-foot table, and that is not a lot of space considering you need to include like signage, your product fixtures, your products itself, any other samples or testers you might have. So trying to fit all that into one table can be a little tricky. So it's a good idea to plan these things out in advance. So you want to make sure you have signage, of course, to tell what your brand is and what you sell. Like I said, maybe you have samples or testers if you sell edible products or specialty products, soaps. Maybe you want people to be able to smell the scents. Fixtures, those, they can vary. So maybe do a little research on what type of fixtures are best to display your products and make it look the most appealing and attractive. So one thing I did, so I sell tea towels, and they are packaged, but they're packaged smaller. So you can't see the full design when you're just looking at the packaged item. So I decided to make a display where I hung I have one sample of each design of tea towel, so people are able to look at the full design and feel the tea towel when they're there at the market, because I know they're not going to be able to do that once it's packaged. So that can be another thing you want to consider if your products are packaged in a specific way. And what else? And signage. So you want to make sure you have price lists, maybe information about each product. Not everyone's gonna want to strike up conversation or ask you questions. They might just kind of browse and look. So having that information there for them can be helpful. how much inventory do you need and how much should you bring? So my very first local market, I brought way too much stuff. I had no clue really, or I was like, okay, what if I need more of this or run out of this? Like I was just over prepared. I think they were wondering why I'm lugging in like 5 bins of stuff when I didn't really need that. So a rule of thumb that I was given was 10 times the vendor fee. So say your vendor fee is $100, then you might want to bring about $1,000 worth of merchandise and product. I think that was a good rule of thumb to start with. And the more markets you do, the better idea you're going to have of what sells, what are the popular products, and you're going to be able to figure out what to bring. You're not going to need as much product of this type because it doesn't sell as well, and this one's more popular, so you want to bring more of that. So you're going to figure that stuff out the more markets you do. What else? It's also a good idea to track how much inventory you bring to each market, and maybe if you can track what you're selling so that you have an idea of, again, what's selling better than others. And then this is going to help you each time you do a new market. So I know my Square app, the payments app that I use, it tracks all the sales by item too. So that's easy way, or you can just manually write it in a notebook or something. But I think it's a good way, especially in the beginning, to just track all your sales and the items that sell. Marketing. So you want to make sure you have marketing materials there for people to be able to take away even after they leave. Business cards, postcards, especially if your products need special instructions, you might want to have that there. Your Instagram handles or your Facebook handles and your accounts. Perhaps let them sign up for a mailing list so you can send them offers later. You just want to connect with your customer because they're not always going to buy a product, but they're going to want to remember you somehow, or you want them to remember you somehow even after they leave. So it's a good idea to have these type of marketing materials there. Payments and how you're going to accept payments from your customers. So especially now, you're going to want to offer credit card and debit transactions. I think about 90% of my sales are with debit and credit card. So rarely is it with cash. I mean, cash, of course, there are still some, but everyone's just going touchless right now and cashless. So the app that I use is Square, and it's a very small little payment machine, but very compact, easy to use. You can use it right off your phone, and it gives you analytics, like I mentioned earlier, and reports about all your sales. So that's really useful. So make sure you can find a payment terminal that works for you. Packaging materials is something that you're going to need to bring. So when your customer makes a purchase, you want to make sure that you have bags for them, or boxes or tissue if you have fragile items. So that's going to be something else you're going to have to bring and keep with you at the market. Transportation of all your stuff is important and something you have to consider too. If your market provides a table and chair, then that is bonus. So you don't have to worry about that because that can be bulky and big. But most of the markets, especially the ones I've done, I've had to bring my own table and chair. You're gonna have to bring all your stuff, all your fixtures, your packaging items, your marketing materials, your signage. There's a lot of stuff to bring. So just be sure that you have an easy way to transport all that. Especially if you don't have a car, that might be a little more tricky, but definitely something you need to consider. I just wanted to add a little bit of extra tips because I did operate a market during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, and luckily everything was good. We were able to run and operate safely and successfully. But there were a few things that I did differently or I offered at my booth, and I just wanted to throw this in there too, because this is probably going to continue for a while. So I, along with every other booth, we offered hand sanitizer right on our table and make it visible so that people know it's there to use. The square terminal, because it's so small, it's great. I can just put it somewhere on the table where I don't have to give it to the customer. They can just tap it themselves, touchless. I kept limited items on display. I kept one of each item on display instead of putting everything on the table, just in case people, fewer hands touching it. And I kept a lot of stock behind the booth, so when someone did make a purchase, I was able to give them one from behind the booth. And if you have food items or tester items, just be aware that there's probably going to be more stricter guidelines and rules. Everything might have to be single serve or throwaway. So definitely these are things to consider, because I think we're going to be using these, following these rules for a while. So my last takeaway from all this is, if you plan to be part of a craft market or local market, then be prepared, if it's permitted, of course, be prepared to do more than one market, maybe a few and maybe more. Because I don't feel like you're going to get the full experience by just doing one. Your first one, you're going to feel nervous, you're going to feel scared. But the more you do, the more comfortable you're going to get, and the more confident you're going to feel. You are going to build like a routine for preparation, and your experience is just going to get better. And the more markets you do, the more people are going to be familiar with your face and your products, and that's going to help you to build a name for yourself and build your brand. So consider doing a few markets. Like I said, it's been nothing but an advantage for me. So I wish you all the best. I hope this information was helpful, and I hope to see you at the next video.